All right, welcome back to, this is the second video of this lesson on 5.3. Okay. So the big idea in chapter 5.3 is this side angle side pattern or side angle side theorem, which we can use to claim or prove that two triangles are congruent. Okay. This is really beneficial because we no longer have to show that there are three pairs of congruent sides and three pairs of congruent angles. We really have cut the work down to just showing that two pairs of sides are congruent and also the one angle in between those sides is congruent. Okay, so we've kind of cut our work in half, right? Instead of showing that there are 6 congruent parts, we only have to show that there are 3 congruent parts. The only exception is that it has to follow this pattern, this side angle side pattern. Okay, so this is the proof we did in the last video, and then here is a proof we're going to do in this video. Okay. So if we look at what's given, segment JN is congruent to MN, so both of those have the single tick mark. Segment NK is congruent to NL, okay, those both have the double tick mark. And what we want to show is triangle JNK is congruent to triangle MNL. So I'm going to go ahead and color these triangles. So JNK is that triangle right there, the yellow one, and MNL is going to be this triangle right here. Okay. So can we prove that the yellow triangle and orange triangle are congruent? Okay. All right. So I already know that I want to use the side angle side theorem to do this. Okay. So for my statements, I'm going to write 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to write on the side SAS, side angle side. And then the fourth statement is going to be what I'm trying to prove, which is that the triangles are congruent. So I'm going to go ahead and write that part in. So triangle JNK is congruent to triangle MNL. And I already know that I want to use the side angle side theorem to prove this, or to use as my evidence. Excuse me. All right. So let's start with a statement about a side. Okay. Well, we already know that JN is congruent to MN, so we can use that. JN is congruent to MN, and we can just write given since it is one of the given statements. So let me go ahead and highlight those two sides there. Okay. And then I have another statement here about another pair of sides, which I'm not going to put on line 2 because that's where I want to put my angle statement. So I'm going to put it on line number 3. Okay, so side NK is congruent to side NL. Okay, and again, that's given, so I can just write given. Okay. And in my diagram, I will now highlight those two. Okay. So the pattern we're looking for is a side angle side pattern. We want two sides and the angle in between. Okay. So I have two sides, so the angle in between is going to be this angle right here. So just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to call this angle number 1, and I'm going to call this angle number 2. Okay, and I want to claim that these two angles are congruent. Right? Angle 1 congruent to angle 2. All right. So now I got to reach into my toolbox. I got to, go into my bag of tricks or my bag of theorems and figure out what angle theorem tells me that these two angles are congruent. Okay, and the answer is that these are vertical angles, right? Any two angles that are across from each other at the same vertex will be congruent, will have the same number of degrees. Okay, so I can write vertical angles theorem. And we finished the proof, right? That went pretty quickly. Okay, so the first pair of sides, that was given. The angle, we had to argue that one ourselves, but it wasn't too bad, right? Just vertical angles. And then the second pair of sides, that was another given. So once we have that side angle side pattern, we can claim that the triangles are congruent as well. So thank you for watching this video. There's going to be 2 or 3 more videos in this series covering chapter 5.3.